tracking 4 tropical disturbances in the Atlantic, but none of them are likely to develop further. It is almost peak hurricane season, but it's been surprisingly calm with only 5 named storms so far at this halfway point. Forecasters had predicted up to 25. A meteorologist says some factors are that La Nina never formed and Saharan dust from Africa dried out the atmosphere, I should say. Regardless, there could be flash flooding in the Gulf Coast in the next day or so. 63 million Americans are still under heat alerts today as the dangerous western heat wave continues. Several cities broke their daily temperature records yesterday. Indio, California reached 121 degrees, Phoenix reached 116, and Seattle was 89 degrees. Luckily, conditions are starting to improve as we head into the weekend. The much anticipated August job numbers report is out with a mixed reaction on overall employment growth. Data shows employers added more than 142,000 jobs last month, but this comes in lower than the 161,000 jobs economists predicted. Still, a tightening job market is good news for the Fed. Meantime, inflation is getting closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% target. All of this signals the Fed may cut its key interest rate from a 23-year high when it meets later this month. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has a closer look at how you might feel some relief right away.
When COVID-19 vaccines became widely available and economies around the world got back up and running, inflation just about everywhere started to spike. The U.S. Federal Reserve rose the cost of borrowing money in order to slow demand and stabilize prices. This was Fed Chair Jerome Powell in summer 2022.
Inflation has obviously surprised to the upside over the past year, and further surprises could be in store.
The Fed's preferred measure of inflation hit its peak at 6.8% in June of that year. Now it's down to 2.5%. This was Powell just 2 weeks ago.
My confidence has grown that inflation is on a sustainable path back to 2%.
On September 18th, the Fed is expected to announce a quarter-point cut to the federal funds rate, which guides all other interest rates. Mortgage rates especially. The average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage hit 8% in fall of 2023. Now they're below 6.5%.
If we continue to see that kind of movement, I think we will perhaps see some improvement in home sales, and with that, some modest improvement in housing affordability.
The cost of car loans will also start to decrease. So will credit card interest rates on new purchases. But since those annual percentage rates are already so high, typically well over 20%, September's likely cut won't make much of a difference.
If someone were to maintain, let's say, a balance which is totally inadvisable, of, let's say, $5,000 and only make the minimum payment over a long period of time, that's only going to make a difference of about $100 or $200.
The silver lining of the Fed's benchmark rate still being high relative to the past 3 decades is people can still take advantage of the returns of a high-yield savings account, in some cases more than 5% a year. After the Fed makes its first cut, decisions on future cuts will be based on where the unemployment rate goes and how the overall economy performs. If unemployment goes up and economic activity loses steam, the Fed would likely make bigger cuts at a faster pace. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National Desk, America's News Now.
$1.3 billion in unpaid taxes have been recovered by the IRS from wealthy people who didn't file returns or didn't pay all of what they owed. The IRS and Treasury Department made the announcement today to highlight efforts to crack down on tax cheats. A Treasury official said the IRS is planning to keep going after people who haven't filed their taxes. An American woman was reportedly shot and killed in the West Bank today. 2 Palestinian doctors tell the Associated Press that the 26-year-old was shot by Israeli troops while attending a pro-Palestinian demonstration against Israeli settlements. The U.S. State Department is asking Israel for full investigation into the shooting. Speaking earlier today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken stopped short of blaming Israel.
I just want to extend my deepest condolences, the deepest condolences of the United States government, to the family of Aishnur Ezgi-Aga. We deplore this tragic loss. Now, the most important thing to do is to gather the facts, and that's exactly what we're in the process of doing.
The IDF posted on X that Israeli forces did respond with live fire towards a protester who was throwing rocks and endangering Israeli soldiers. The post did not specifically identify the American as the agitator and said they are reviewing the incident. Also in the West Bank, Israel appeared to have ended a 10-day operation in the cities of Jenin and Tokram as forces left the area earlier today. Israeli officials say they were targeting militants to try to curb recent attacks against Israeli civilians. The Palestinian Health Ministry says as many as 39 people were killed since last week, including 8 children and 2 elderly people. Israel says the majority of those killed were, quote, terrorists. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start with business owners frustrated by smash and grabs in Seattle.
It's this construction crew's 3rd time fixing the site of #cannabis after repeat break-ins. Store owner Logan Bowers claims he's tried and failed to get help from the city of Redmond to safeguard his store, and he's had enough.
We'll go out of business if we can't find a solution here for protection on this corner.
In this latest crash and grab, surveillance video shows a stolen white Acura ramming into the side wall with 8 or 9 masked suspects nearby. As Como has reported after other burglaries here, Bowers this year has had a permit request to install protective bollards denied by the city and says he has another permit request on hold.
I think that the city is working with hashtag in the same way that we work with all city businesses.
The air quality advisory was issued because of the Bear Fire about 30 miles west of us.
That's Ben McMullen. He's an air quality specialist with Northern Nevada Public Health, keeping an eye out for the health and safety of Washoe County residents as smoke from wildfires in neighboring states settles into the Reno-Sparks area. But it's not just the Bear Fire experts are keeping an eye on.
There's the Boone Fire that started 2 days ago. And then as well as the coffee pot fire that's still kind of blowing some smoke north here.
Air quality is monitored using a tool commonly seen during weathercasts, the Air Quality Index. It's broken down into levels: good, moderate, unhealthy for sensitive groups, unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous.
Can I get a hoo-day? Bengals fans are ready to cheer on their team this Sunday. The Troll Pub packed with people in their best stripes.
It's in my blood. So being so close to Cincinnati, sort of getting the anticipation, the tension, the excitement started early. There's no downsides to pre-gaming.
It's part of Cincinnati's Open in Orange pregame special to promote the team, the pub, and the Free Store Food Bank. All shirt sales go back to the organization to help close the hunger gap in the Queen City.
Coming up, surprising new research about the brain disease CTE and its devastating impacts right after this.